is unconstitutional because of the Commerce Clause doesn't act to that. And the Commerce Clause in the past has been very much used liberally by the Congress to say anything related to Congress is all right, or commerce is all right, so Congress can pass really anything they want. This Supreme Court's been more willing to cut back on the Commerce Clause. The latest case, or the biggest case, was the Lopez case that dealt with, I think, handguns near school zones. And the court said, look, you have to have some relation to commerce that isn't so tangential, because you can have really anything relate to commerce. And so this is it's a really good test case about mandating healthcare through the Commerce Clause, because how does it affect interstate commerce? You know, it's really tangential. And you might say that that's a smaller part of the healthcare debate, covering 12 million people that don't necessarily want it, probably something less than that. Well, if you don't cover those people and mandate that they pay, that destroys the whole bill, because it's really dependent upon those people paying for the other parts of the bill to work. I know another thing that Mark Shower says, that it's just not right, and he has to know it's not right, because he claimed to be a big author of the bill, was that Medicare is not going to be affected at all by this. Well, I mean, you laugh because it's true. Medicare Advantage is gone, and a lot of people in this district use Medicare Advantage. That's one example. Here's another example, small example, but if Mark was paying attention, he would have caught it. If Mark cared about veterans or active duty, he would have caught it. TRICARE was not dealt with in this bill in a special way. TRICARE is what military and retirees use as their health care if you're not, using a base healthcare system. And TRICARE was going to be treated just like any other healthcare system. So they were going to be treated, in a way that would have really destroyed the TRICARE system. Mark should have caught that. Now they're trying to fix it and say, oh, it was just an oversight. Just an oversight. That's what happens when you try to jam bills in the middle of the night, literally, Sunday night. They're trying to jam a bill in with all the kickbacks and all the backyard deals. I mean, you see all the special spending requests that Bart Stupak and his guys put in after they made that deal. Here's another problem with Bart Stupak's executive order that President Obama signed. It's not worth the paper it's written on. As soon as some radical pro-abortion group decides to sue, and they will, they're going to win, because an executive order is trumped by law. And the law of the land is that abortions will be funded by our taxpayer dollars. And you'll have Democrats talk about, well, the Hyde Amendment covers. No, it doesn't. The Hyde Amendment covers appropriated funds. This health care bill doesn't deal with appropriated funds, so it's two pots of money. So they're being disingenuous once again when they tell everybody, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. That's what this crew down in D.C. has been saying for quite a while. And I can tell you, there is a crisis of consent right now. You saw, a very unpopular bill being forced through Congress with a bipartisan minority on the other side. 34 Democrats joined the Republicans to say no to the bill. And the bill was sold as benefiting the middle class. And the middle class answer was, the Tea Party answer was, please don't. Because they knew where it was going to land. It was going to land on their laps, because that's where the payments are going to have to be made. And the care is going to get worse. Talked about national security a little bit already. Talking about jobs, I'm a Reagan Republican. I grew up with Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, and those are my political icons. Margaret Thatcher stood for deregulation of, incredibly overregulating state. And then Ronald Reagan stood for the principles of smaller government, less taxes, more freedom. And that's how I grew up. I wasn't happy to be a Republican when the Republicans lost their way in the late 90s and early part of this century. But I still voted, but I can see why there got to be apathy, because a lot of Republicans got down there and fell in love with the power down there. And in some ways, this whole process has been good, because it's gotten us back to our core constitutional principles. It's gotten people energized and remember what we, the people, is all about. And instead of just knowing the catchphrases of the Declaration of Independence of the rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, they're reading the other parts of it too, of why people decided to break the bonds that bound them with England. And that had to do largely with taxation without representation. And that's the crisis of consent that we have right now. We have a people that is supposed to be superior to the government, and yet you have a government using its raw power to force its will upon the people. And the good thing about our system, the great thing about our system, is that it corrects itself. And we're going to have a huge correction in